Welcome, guys. This is DERELL. I'm right here at the practice at my Houston office today. I'm going to give a short introduction to why I decided to do a video today that are focusing on the therapeutic ways to deal with or to cope with or to navigate through colorism. And what I first would like to talk about is that this particular issue has been a very hot topic and has been somewhat of a consistent topic throughout all of YouTube, pretty much for the most part. And what I would like to do is give somewhat of a psychological therapeutic perspective on colorism itself, how it affects the Black community, and how it has affected Black females. But I also want people to understand, and this is something that is not talked about a lot, is how it affects Black men. And I want us to understand that, I mean, there are Black men, just like myself, who've experienced colorism from men and women. I think we're minimizing the fact that as we want to talk about, and we tend to illustrate and magnify the fact that Black men use their coloristic mindsets in choosing a mate, I think we also must turn the page and bring our attention to the fact of how they develop that mindset. We must, in some way, examine how there is a pretty large percentage of Black men who are the same complexion of me or darker, who choose not to date, procreate, or marry women who have the same dark skin tone. And I know there are going to be people who are going to say, well, in our community, particularly in the mid to late 90s, people who had dark skin, it went away from the 80s of the light skinned guy that had all the women. Now, you start to see, with the situation occurring with Jungle Fever, Wesley Snipes, and other dark skinned brothers came to the forefront. We start looking at being dark as being more sexy and more masculine. Yes, that is true. But from a historical standpoint, and with historical evidence, we have to ascertain the fact that dark-skinned men, for the most part, were not, and I repeat, were not at the head or at the top of the pecking order for Black women to want to engage in being with long term. And also, we were called names just as well. The issue is that as a Black man and as Black men, we processed it differently, because the difference is that among men, physicality is not as important as it relates to women. For women, beauty and physicality, as far as their physical beauty and so forth, is more valued amongst each other. Black men, Black boys or Black males, they may have said things, but they were not judging masculinity based on how you look. We judge masculinity based on the things that you did, you accomplished, and things that you can conquer, things that as far as sports, you had to do activity. Okay? But you had to do activity that people value. You had to win things. You had to compete. Because as I witness and as I view, and I'm collecting data on how people are talking about colorism, we seem to put colorism in a small vacuum that only relates to black men not choosing black women. We tend to put colorism in a position in which black men are making relationship choices and what black women they choose or choose not to date. And then we also look at it from the perspective of how other black women demonize other dark-skinned women, which is actually the forefront of of some of the beefs that are going on right now in black YouTube about one black light-skinned female saying something or laughing in regards to what another dark-skinned YouTuber said and supposedly said certain things. In many ways, guys, I am somewhat disappointed at the level of unintellectualism that stems from the fact of as us as a people, we're still stuck on a situation of dealing with colorism, which is very prevalent in our community. And we have not matured in a manner to alleviate this problem out of our community. We have failed to hold friends, family members, partners, co-workers, associates, even yourself from using coloristic terminology, verbalizing coloristic statements, writing, doing topics that are colorist in nature, showing coloristic preferences, and in many ways, lighter being better, darker being worse. Let me ask you all a question for everybody that's listening. When the last time you laughed at a light-skinned joke? I'm going to repeat that. When was the last time you laughed at a light-skinned joke? But I guarantee you laughed at a dark-skinned joke. You know, your mama's so black. When she come into the house, the lights, everything turns to dark. You know, you're so black, you know, that you feel you look like an all field or something, some dumb joke. And people have laughed at that. But how many light-skinned jokes have you laughed at? How many jokes that pertain to the lightness of a black person's skin that you thought was funny? You see, there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture that we must bring a sense of awareness to. And that awareness is the fact that we have been conditioned, psychologically conditioned, to not like things or to not like or not to appreciate or not to honor things that stem from the foundation of what black people or African people are meant to be. Anything that resembles, or the darker you are, the more you resemble your African ancestry. The bigger your lips are, the broader your nose, the kinkier your hair, all of those things we are positively reinforced to deviate from our true sense of self. Okay? Again, I'm going to repeat. We are positively reinforced to deviate from our true selves. Then one would pose the question, well, DERELL, I'm a light-skinned person, and I like being light-skinned, and I love dark skin. Why should I be demonized for the fact this is how I naturally look? Okay, let's ask that question. Let me answer that question. Because, see, one of the reasons why, to me, YouTube in itself is a blessing to me and a curse to me, because there's not one issue that I have not dealt with in this office with a client sitting across from me that I have not heard on YouTube. The problem is when the people who sit across me in this office, they're more apt to listening and practicing and using the strategies and the therapeutic process. Unfortunately, the sick people that I hear on YouTube, because we don't know the realness of who they are, who they're not, they want to argue just for the sake of argument, because many of them just this is what they do for entertainment and for whatever other reasons. But a light-skinned person, for the most part, historically, has been positively reinforced for looking closer to whiteness. You represent a variation of your true ancestry, of how they look from a phenotypical standpoint. Me, I represent my ancestors. I look closer to those people who crossed the Atlantic on boats. Okay? But when you, what we have to understand, when it comes to Kevin Samuels, when it comes to, what's that lady name? The heavy set lady that Solar Bay, whatever her name, that just married the white guy. When we're talking about people such as Crystalline Carrison, when we're talking about other colorists like Fantastic, and other people who have said coloristic things or have a coloristic ideology that seems to permeate in the way they treat people of the opposite sex, of the same sex in our community. None of us came into the world thinking this way. Let me repeat. None of us, absolutely none of us, were born in this world thinking this. That ideology was taught to us culturally because of the condition that we inherited. Colorism is an extension of white supremacy. And people who practice colorism have a white supremacist mindset, because in their coloristic mindset, they devalue blackness and they reinforce and support things that relate or vary in a way, a variation of what is dark or lighter, meaning that the lighter means closer to being white. And in that mindset, you subconsciously treat lighter skinned people better. You tend to be verbally more polite to lighter skinned people. You tend to may want to give other lighter skinned people leeway. You see, we get stuck on the relationship stuff. I focus on the totality of how a person functions in a coloristic mindset. Because you must know, W.E.B. Du Bois was a colorist. W.E.B. Du Bois was a colorist. Period. He was a colorist. A lot of our entertainers, our male entertainers, they're colorists. Because the choices of who they decide to mate with, the choices of who they fraternize with, in many ways, is atypical of Black culture from a social and phenotypical standpoint. There are a lot of Black people, and this is one of the biggest problems. We value things more that are outside of our community. Black on Black crime has aspects of colorism. Because in Black on Black crime, you are devaluing the very color that looks just like you. Meaning, in our essence, you also disvalue yourself. But you would not dare commit those same crimes to the people who have a skin tone or hue that you actually value. Because Black people as a whole, not as a whole, I'm sorry, let me repeat that. Black people I'm saying it's in the majority, tend to have an ideology and a mindset, socially and psychologically, that values things outside of who we naturally are. Because let's be honest, how many Black women that you know naturally like wanting to look Black? I'm going to repeat this. How many Black women do you know naturally value their natural Blackness? How many Black men naturally like Black women who look naturally Black? See, it goes both ways. How many of us naturally like to see Black women look like their natural selves? Now, the manosphere claims that they like Black women, or they want Black women to wear their own hair, not to have all the extras with the makeup, too much makeup and the eyelashes. We want you to be your natural Black feminine self. It's a goddamn lie. They're lying to you. And I'm going to prove to you how they're lying. Because if Black men in the manosphere really like Black women who are their natural, beautiful selves, they would be uplifting Black women who look like their natural, beautiful selves. And they're not doing that. Black women Black men in the manosphere are not uplifting naturally beautiful, naturally attractive Black women. I'm going to be honest with you. Many of these simps in the manosphere still would date a Megan Thee Stallion. They would still be with a city girl. There's an avatar that is not natural. Her picture is not of a natural Black woman. These are facts. These are facts. I am not giving you information just to be giving you BS. I'm telling you the truth. Okay? This is the truth. I can only judge you. I can only judge you by the things that you say that pretty much are in line with the things that your behaviors displays. That's the essence of how I help people. In the therapy, I listen to what they say, and then I reflect on the things that they actually do that correlate with the things that they express. So it's very hard for me to hear a black man say I only like black light-skinned women and say I respect dark-skinned women. It's very difficult for me to believe you are a woman who's married or who has habitually married or dated white men, but say you still for the black community and you're not against black men. You see, your actions of your behavior have to be in concert with the things that you say in order for it to be genuine, believable, and make sense. In many situations, it doesn't. And this is one of the most frustrating things that I have to decipher in YouTube, because it's hard to separate what's real and what's just entertainment, because there's a togetherness that's a mixture of both, and you don't know what is real and what is not real. You have people who have platforms. We have people who have platforms based on telling black women that maybe the black man is not your natural mate. That sounds very stupid. We're naturally the same people, but we're not naturally supposed to procreate to create more of the same people. That makes no sense. You have people who say you should explore your options. So you want to explore your options outside of your community, but you still love your community. So it would be very difficult, and I'm going to give an analogy. It would be very difficult for the owner of Walmart to think that you love shopping at Walmart, but every time you're going to go shopping, you go to Target. You tend to go to Target 90% of the time. Now, if you tend to go to Target to go shop, but you claim you love Walmart, it will be hard pressed for any thinking, rational person to think that you really like Walmart. So for all of the divestment, the swirling, the pink pill, the leveling up, you cannot go shopping at other markets but claim to still love your home foundational market. If you love your market, you will choose the products in your market. What we have to understand as black men, whether you want to believe it or not believe it, particularly in this space, black women are hurting because as women, it is their nature to compare their status and their worth with other women, whether it's interracial or interracial or intercultural, whether it's with other women, black, white, Indian, Asian, or in our own group. And in the paralysis of that process, they value themselves, and also they evaluate the worthiness of the men that have them in that position. It's tricky, and it's something that needs to be talked about as black women evaluate their worthiness based on other women of other races and how they're treated compared to other women in their own culture. The problem with that is what we in line is that the inability of black men to do certain things is not totally the failure of black men to actually have the ability to do those things. It is confusing. You see, we're judging based on other standards, other people, what they do for their women, how they operate. But we're not looking at the fact that black men want to do the same, want to do equally just as much or even better. However, there's a certain set of circumstances that black men have to endure, have to fight, have to overcome, that other people simply don't have to. They don't have to. And it's somewhat problematic. In that frustration, it becomes a situation where you feel that it's just black men's faults. And it's not. It's the system in which we operate in that actually teaches you and me that we should not be together. That you should not value that man that looks like this or that woman, but what you should value is something that looks closer to the way I look. Therefore, we have reinforced lightness. We say things like good hair. We make big lip jokes, big nose jokes. Big eye jokes. Black jokes. All the things that uniquely make us different and beautiful from other people, we make jokes about it. And just as I am guilty of laughing at some of that stuff, everybody that's watching me right now, you're just as guilty of the same coloristic attitudes. Every last one of us. Every last one of us are guilty of coloristic attitudes at some point in our lives. We all are guilty of it because we all laughed at black jokes. We all laugh at black jokes. Okay? We all laughed at black jokes. We all laughed at, big lip jokes, big nose jokes. We all have laughed at it, including myself. I don't hear white people laughing at you're so white or you so pale jokes. I don't hear Hispanic people laughing at you too brown jokes. I only hear black people laughing at jokes that insinuate your natural self. This is facts. This is facts. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I have grown to not laugh at those type of jokes. And I laughed at some of those types of jokes as an adult, and I stopped as I got into my early 30s. But in my 20s and teens, I laughed at those types of jokes. And then you have those who say, well, that's just stuff that black people say and do to, within ourselves. No, we don't. No. If we are, we should stop it. It is cancerous for us to laugh, make jokes, and demonize things that naturally make up who we are. But this is what we do. But not only that, but it tends to flow into how we treat each other that are different. I've seen this firsthand where I have seen grandmothers show favoritism towards grandchildren based on the color of their skin. I have seen parents like the light-skinned children hate the dark-skinned children or don't give them as much attention. I have heard black mothers call their children black in a negative manner, telling you to sit your black ass down. Get your black ass over here. Or say black nappy headed and so forth. Or just saying black bee. This is what I'm talking about. This is what we do you see how this flows into the language that we say? You see how it impacts the decision making that we make as far as preferences? The images that we like? We tend as black people to like to see images of lighter skinned black people. White people have studied that. And that's why on TV, you see just as many lighter skinned black people as you see on TV. And the darker skinned people, you have them acting stereotypical. You rarely see on TV two dark skinned black people that are actually married together. But I guarantee you will see two light skinned people as a couple, or you're going to see black people in interracial couples. This is facts. This is what I call facts. I'm having this discussion with you because I think that this is a pertinent time to have a real discussion about this issue. See, I have a 6-year-old mixed Hispanic and African American child, which I actually interact with her as if she's black because she considers herself black. But in her internal self of thinking that she's black or feel that she's black, she has issues with darker skinned people. Now that she's interacting and going through the therapeutic process, she loves dark-skinned people and she loves all black people. But this same little girl, when I would show her what does an ugly person look like, The ugly person looked like a dark-skinned black girl. When I asked her what a pretty black girl looks like, it was light-skinned, Hispanic, and white. Period. Period. This is the reality. This is the reality. Now, what I like to do, and I'm going to talk about the coping skills. Get your pencil and paper out. I'm giving you an education. This is almost like free therapy. When a person is expressing to you that they are experiencing colorism, please believe them. It's too many times where people are telling you what somebody is doing to them. And you know what? A lot of these black people, and I've seen this on this platform. Nah, it wasn't that bad. No, it wasn't like that. No, nah. You overreacting. Come on now. No, they're telling you the truth because this is how they feel. Unless what they're saying is so irrational it makes no sense, please find it in yourself to listen and believe them, unless there's inadequacies or inaccuracies in their language. Okay? For children and adults, please, when they're talking about themselves or they don't like how dark they are or their skin tone, give positive affirmation statements to remind them that they are beautiful, that your skin does look, nothing wrong with that. I think, other people think, you should think. Give positive affirmations statements. We have to work on improving self-worth and self-esteem through identifying the positives of yourself and also connected to other people who look physically similar to you that are also doing great things. So you can see that people, particularly for children, if I'm a young black woman, black girl, I can grow up to be like this beautiful black woman. Focus on your positive abilities, your achievements. That example is what my mom did for me when I was around 9-10 years old, when people were teasing me for being dark skinned. My mom she told me to not, number one, I'm gonna get to this one, but the devaluing of other people's opinion and valuing your own opinion over that. That's another thing. I'm gonna deal with that later. But the other thing was that my mom helped me recognize all of the great things that I did as a person, that I should never let anybody devalue who I am based on what they think of me. She reminded me of the fact that I was musically talented, playing the drums, singing, playing piano at the age of 9-10 years old. I did things that other people could not do. She told me how, you perform well in school, academically. You're a respectful young kid. I don't have problems with you. I don't have to give you spankings like other kids have to get for being misbehavior. You do your chores. She reminded me of how easy I made her job being a mother or being a parent because I was a good kid. And when your parents or other adults tell kids that, or other people repeat that to you, that is a powerful thing to fight off the negativity of other people. Also, I want to question, because this is something that the greater community does to us. They put out what is called social technology, which is basically programming, visual programming of everything looking good that doesn't look like you. Matter of fact, a white Jesus, and I'm not even talking from a religious standpoint. I'm talking about a psychological standpoint. The fact that somebody that historically comes from a place that people don't look like that, you have a picture on your wall of that person representing something that historically is not what they're supposed to look like. That's just facts. That has nothing to do with being Pan-African. Doesn't have nothing to do with being racist. It has nothing to do with religion. It just has something to do with historical fact. Positive images. If you're a black woman, dark skin, you should have people and things that you relate to and admire that look like you, or any black woman, no matter what shade she is. You should have that. You should not have, and see, people think it's racist to do that. But I guarantee you, as I do home visits, when I go into Asian communities, all I see is Asian everything. I go into white communities, white everything. Hispanic everything. Only black people honor the things of other things that don't look like them. That is mental illness. That is mental illness. You have to value yourself first before you value anything else. So positive images. Please provide emotional support. Listening, caring, comforting. Reflecting on what they're saying, repeating what they're saying, summarizing what they're saying. Finding some insight into why they don't understand why people treat me this way. Why I can't get a boyfriend because I'm dark skinned. Why I can't get a girlfriend because they think I'm ugly because I'm black. Be there to do that. Again, I'm going to go back to beginning to believe and value your own sense of self, your sense of ideas, sense of who you are, and don't seek validation from others to do what you can do for yourself, to provide what you can provide for yourself. You don't need other people to tell you you're worth a damn. You tell yourself you're worth a damn, because et cetera, et cetera. And when you become victims of colorism, it is somewhat difficult from a behavioral standpoint to act like you love yourself. What you may end up doing is what a lot of teenagers began to do. They begin to model those who hate themselves, and then they model to do what that person is doing. You have to understand, why do you think the women today like to do a lot of the things that are not consistent with their true natural beauty self? Because they model older women who practice these behaviors. It would be vice versa. Let's say 20 years ago, the teenagers, the women now were teenagers, 15, 16, 17 years old. If they saw their mothers and aunts and other older sisters wearing natural hair, no makeup, minimal makeup, no lashes, and lipsticks that are conducive to that complement their skin, and they saw the positive reinforcements that they receive from men, meaning that the men would actually like and value that, I guarantee you would not be seeing what you see today. You see, women do things because men validate those things. Black women would not be wearing 6 feet of weave in their hair if black men, for the most part, would not date them, like them, talk to them, or give them positive reinforcement. The reason why they do it, because there's a healthy percentage of those who will. So as long as you have those that will, they're not going to stop. One of the biggest focuses that I have to do in coping is developing your confidence as it relates to self-esteem, but confidence in a manner of I can verbally talk against you. I can verbally confront or contest what you're saying about me. I can verbally stand up for myself. I will physically stand up for myself if I have to. I will walk away. I will ignore. You have to have the confidence to confront those who try to devalue who you are. That was another thing my mom taught me. As I had to kick some asses a little bit when someone called me a name. I had to fight a little bit. Yeah, I beat up a few people. I did. I had to, to get your respect. Sometimes you may have to do that. I'm not saying I'm not advocating violence, but when I was about 10, 11, yeah, I had to do a few things for people to quit messing with me. It had to happen. Also, in regards to children, as it relates, I talked about images, those images in the form of toys, pictures, any type of instruments of play. A laptop, iPad should have black images reflecting them, baby dolls, black superheroes, and all of that. You should have some positive images of self in all types of toys or things that we use. That's what a black home should have, black images. I would say all black images, but I'm not going to say that because I understand our people and where we are. I'm going to say whatever you choose. I prefer to say my preference, and for those that agree, you should have all black images. No other group of people are going to love you as much as you love yourself. No other group of people is going to value you as much as you value yourself. We have to quit thinking we have to connect with others to get value in ourselves. No, we have to connect with ourselves. When we connect with ourselves, that means that when someone does something or treats another person wrong, we will in turn support them because they reflect ourselves. This is what has to happen. This is what has to happen, guys. Give me 1 second, guys. So I've just given you strategies, coping. I've talked about those things. I listed those. I listed about 8 or 9 different things. These are things that I utilize in a therapeutic manner to help people who have colorism issues as it relates to our community. I have a couple of kids right now that I'm dealing with coloristic issues. So I'm going to send the link. I think that was What the Hell Up? Oh, that's Rollo want to come up. So we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to let him talk just briefly. We're not going to do a long one. I'm going to see if he's going to come up. For anybody that wants to come up. I want to say if anybody comes up, please keep negative language to a minimum. I know I kind of said a couple of things, but it wasn't out of the ordinary. But we want to keep it to a minimum because I am posting this. This is currently live on the Black Balance Network, and we try to keep the Black Balance Network as clean as possible. So let's try to keep it clean. Rollo, if you want to come up, you're more than happy to come up, and we can get this party started. So I'm gonna give it just give it a few minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue. And I felt that it was important for me to do this topic because I have had issues and ongoing issues with people who have coloristic mindsets. Colorism is so pervasive. There's a young woman right now that was on Kevin Samuel, as you all know, who we don't know what this lady is thinking right now and how she's being judged. People have judged her for being a dark-skinned woman in regards to her being perceived as not being beautiful, as far as her giving herself a 5 ranking. People have said all types of nasty things about her, and not even the host. People are actually ridiculing the lady more than the actual host. And let's be honest with you. I don't want to hear this thing about, well, you should have known what you was getting into. Yes, you should know what you should be getting. And I actually talked about that a little bit. But just because you did or did not know what you were getting into doesn't give a human being the right to try to devalue you or try to demonize you or belittle you. That still don't give anybody the right. We can actually say they're both wrong. These are facts. So don't look like he's coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. It was a wonderful, very, very wonderful show today. Wanted to keep it short and simple, under an hour. Hope you all have a great day. I will talk more about this over the weekend. You all have a great day.